I'd like to thank you for spending some time with me today, and I hope you enjoy this presentation. Instructor feedback is defined as personalized and constructive commentary on student coursework and class contributions. Many believe that feedback, when offered correctly, has the opportunity and the ability to transform a learner for the better. The importance of feedback is well documented in the literature. Feedback serves a variety of functions, including error correction, positive reinforcement, and clarification of unwarranted assumptions and preconceived conceptions. At the same time, the challenges of feedback are also well documented in the literature. So what does quality feedback look like? While the phrasing differs depending upon the researcher writer, in general, quality effective feedback is specific, timely, goal-oriented, shared clearly for the purpose of personal growth, and intentionally involves learners in the process. Wiggins describes helpful feedback as actionable, specific, personalized, timely, ongoing, consistent, and transparent. Quality feedback shares several desired characteristics. Quality feedback is detailed, specific, multi-directional, active, personalized, supportive and responsive, and timely, relevant, and actionable. Providing feedback that meets all these characteristics, though, is time-consuming and often very draining. The time-intensive nature of effective grading feedback, combined with the increasingly limited available instructor time to grade, pose a variety of feedback-related challenges. Scholars describe a so-called feedback paradox, where students clearly recognize the importance of feedback for learning, yet also make limited use of the feedback they receive. So why not try adding some fun to this process? This presentation is intended to start generating some ideas. Option 1, add some humor. We can do so with GIFs, memes, and animations, just as an example. This slide shares a bunch of links for examples, as does this one. And all of these resources will be available at the end of the presentation, along with references for all the content. Here are some free meme making tools. They're all very easy to use, and most require no payments at all. Some have some subscription options, but they're not required. And here are some examples. The ones on the left are for a final assignment idea option, and on the right, for a job well done on a throughout the course assignment. These aren't necessarily humorous, but they're positive and can sometimes add an unexpected brightness to a student's interaction with feedback. And here we have the one on the right is, maybe a midterm student working really hard, keep on going, tackle that next assignment sort of idea. And the one on the left, maybe if a student is almost there, but needs a little bit of encouragement to keep on going with a particular exercise or assignment. Option 2 is make it interactive. We might ask students to share their own memes or interactive GIFs. How are they feeling about the course? Maybe some midterm feedback to professors about how the course is going. We might even ask students to share memes related to how they feel about the feedback they're receiving. And in the resources, there's a really great Twitter thread where a professor asked students to do so. And the thread has some really fun to look at feedback-related memes that we'll share later. We can also add some interaction by embedding surveys and polls to evaluate how students are interacting with the feedback we provide, maybe on a numerical scale from 1 to 10, or by using emojis to assess emotional states. Option 3 is to make it active. A scavenger hunt is an option where you might embed or hide some questions or resources in your feedback as sort of something to encourage students to actually go read the feedback. Something like a TED Talk, relevant article, or even study tips, and then you might tease it out, repose some questions in a discussion in a following week to make the hunt worthwhile for students. Option 4 is to flip it. Look for opportunities to give students, to let students give you feedback in the same way that you provide it to them. Google surveys are super simple tools to do that. You can ask students to rate your feedback anonymously. Ask them what they want more of, need more of, less of, what's working, what's not. Option 5 is to talk about it. If we carve out dedicated time to talk about feedback, we're demonstrating a commitment to making feedback a cooperative and constructive topic rather than a unidirectional one, where information flows only from us to students. Zoom is an excellent opportunity, an excellent resource for hosting open webinars and meetings with students to talk about feedback. Option 6 is to teach how to access it. It's important to make the most of our learning management systems and ensure students know not only where we're embedding or placing their feedback, but also how to access it. So, for example, if we're using inline comments or rubrics, interactive rubrics, we might want to embed resources that remind students how to access feedback in those locations. Option 7 is to make it sticky. What this means is basically options include tools like color, graphics, bold to emphasize key points. Option 8 is to make it valuable. Some ideas here, what this is getting at is basically value beyond the substantive feedback content. So you might consider embedding something like a coupon in your feedback, just as a sort of nudge to get students to read the feedback in the first place. An extra credit opportunity if the department or university permits that, maybe a free late submission. There's a word that a student could then include on a later submission that they would have pulled from prior feedback. Option 9 is to make it inspiring. These are all resources and ideas that will be shared after the presentation. You can always access these, as are these. And here are some examples. Both the interactive GIF on the left and the sort of just flat graphic on the right were both made in Canva. And that resource is included at the end as well. And here's some more with the sources down below for adding some inspiration for students who might benefit from it. And here's a couple more. One on the left is sort of keep up the great effort, keep on swimming. And one on the right is, maybe for a milestone assignment. Student completes milestone and they're ready to dive into the next one. I'd like to thank you for spending your time with me today. I truly appreciate it. I know how valuable your time is, and welcome any questions, and I'd be happy to share any of the resources embedded in this presentation. And there will also be links posted with all references and resources in the repository at the end of the conference. Excuse me. Thank you again and have a great conference.